And welcome in, ladies, gentlemen, and everything in between, and the handful of you that are not watching New Heights live at this exact moment, that we are going live as well. We appreciate those of you who decided to tune in with us, or the more likely group of you that are checking in with us later on in the week. It is DJ joined as always by my co-host Kelsey as the second most popular podcast on at 8:14 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday, August 13th. And
with a
we are
Kelcey on it.
with a Kelsey on it. We only have half the Kelsey, so we're getting there as well. But we are continuing our NFL countdown to kickoff prediction series. We did the West last week. Now we're heading down south with two interesting divisions, is how we're gonna describe it. There's some good, there's some bad, but there's definitely a whole lot of ugly.
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it. But it's not because of the people, just because of the coaching and the teams. The people down south make great food. Just keep that in mind. And one of these stadiums has the best concessions for any NFL team anywhere. And I will stand by that and I will die on that hill. Thank you, Atlanta and Art Blink, for that one moment.
I also got to give them a shout out for offering Chick-fil-A that is not open on Sundays. So that's only very useful. They're like two times a year
Oh,
if they get Monday or Thursdays.
also forgot this one also has the worst stadium in the National Football League in Jacksonville. If anybody's ever heard me talk about Jacksonville's football stadium, it sucks.
Well, look, it's good if you need to get your daily amount of steps in, you'll get that just before you even get to your seat, for better
Yeah.
or for worse. But without further ado, I think it's about time we get into it and get going. And those of us who are just tuning in now, popping off of New Heights, it is always appreciated. We understand that we are very much in second place at best right now. But last week we started with the AFC, so today we're going to start with our NFC countdown predictions, and let's go and take a look at a few of the numbers really quickly. For the fifth year in a row, I believe Tampa Bay has ran this division since 2020. So it would be fourth year in a row going for number 5 with a 10-7 record. Atlanta at 8-9, Carolina at 5-12, and the Saints at the bottom at 5-12. You look at some of their win over under odds: 9.5 for Tampa Bay, 7.5 for Atlanta, Carolina at 6.5, and New Orleans at 6.5. With Tampa's a plus 100 favorite. So before we get into our actual predictions, Kelsey, any surprise here with some of these odds or numbers that you're looking at?
I feel like New Orleans is higher than I would have expected. But I also feel like 6.5 for New Orleans is kind of a good line. Carolina, I feel like should be higher than New Orleans, whatever it is. So if there's 6.5 for New Orleans, 7.5 for Carolina makes sense. But so those two being the same, and then by that measure, then you also have to bump the Falcons up by one win as well. So I wish the Saints were a little bit lower, but I also understand going 5.5 feels like dead odds. So you can't really do much there. But yeah, no surprises really. This is kind of when I look at it, take a glance at the league. If I'm not trying to dive into it, yeah, this feels right.
Can't and those New Orleans Saints odds minus 275. You want to go lower than that too. So they're basically saying, you know what, if you do want to go lower like many are expecting, you're not gonna it's gonna the odds are not forever in your favor. But without further ado, we'll go ahead and get into our predictions for each record. I'll go and lead the way this time since you got to last week. We'll start from the bottom. We're gonna work our way to the top. At the bottom, I have those aforementioned New Orleans Saints. But I have them at 3-14. I don't think it's gonna be a pretty season down in the Bayou. Spoiler alert, they will be the number 1 overall pick in how I broke down and how my season's played out. There's just not a lot to love about them. I'm worried about Chris Olave's health with Derek Carr throwing him into collisions. So, I mean, the bright side is Derek Carr is not throwing him to the hospital anymore. The bad side news is I'm worried he has been to the hospital too many times. Rashid Shaheed's coming off an injury. Your rookie quarterback is the 8th, not even the 8th youngest quarterback in the league, and is the last player born in the 1990s to get drafted, and he has looked erratic at best. Spencer Rattler, we'll see, wasn't exactly pretty last year either. Quarterback situation's a mess. Offensive line's young and pretty good, actually, if they can stay healthy. Like, they're getting something going there. Defensively, geriatrics across the board for the most part. A lot of older players. They traded Sean Lattimore last season as well. There's a lot of holes, a lot of things not to love. Alvin Kamara is getting a little bit older. I don't even know if, say, they start 0-6. I wouldn't be surprised if he's traded before the deadline or like 2-5. If it's a rough start, I wouldn't be surprised to see him traded. I got him going 3-14. I just have a hard time seeing paths for New Orleans to be successful after that ridiculous 2-0 start last year with a better, healthier roster. They went 3-12 the rest of the way. It only got worse. The team's gotten worse since then. They were minus 60 in net points when they were outscoring their opponents like 80-15 in those first 2 weeks. They had a 65-point head start and still ended up minus 60. It's going to be a rough road for the Saints this next year. I think everyone else in the division got better. So we're going to keep the Saints in the cellar at 3-14. Moving up the list now, at Carolina next at 6-11. but a competitive 6-11 if there is such a I think I like what Bryce Young did down the stretch. He looked like a good NFL quarterback, not just a go get him tiger. He looked like a good NFL quarterback. I like Tedoroa McMillan as the receiver 1 to complement Xavier Legette, Hunter Renfrow. They got a really good depth of receivers, even good old Adam Thielen at 40 years old, matching the 40 joke that we have. Good running back room, Rico Dowdle, Chuba Hubbard, offensive lines getting there. I think there's some work to do defensively. Getting Derek Brown back is huge to go along with JC Horn. I still think they're a year away. I think they're still building. I want to see them continue off of what they did at the end of last year. I still think defensively there's some holes. I don't think that minus 193 net points from last year is going to carry over. So I think they'll be better. Like six, I know 6-10 doesn't 6-11 doesn't sound great, but I think they will continue to be better. There'll be a lot of close games. Thinking kind of like some of those teams right before they break through, they have that one season where it could have gone either way. Maybe they win a few of these one score games. I think what we saw at the back half of last year is what we're going to see for the whole season, where they're weirdly competitive with everybody, but not necessarily better than anyone at the same time. They're just going to be weird. They're going to annoy at least 2 or 3 people. They're going to ruin a few seasons at some point with the over unders or something like that. They're going to be a pain in the butt. Next up, I have the Atlanta Falcons. I've missed 7-10. I think they're going to be like almost exactly the same as last year. Like, it's gonna be Michael Penix's rookie year, quote, unquote, give or take, and I say that because he played 4 preseason snaps last year before starting in the month of December, basically, when Kirk Cousins imploded. I still have some questions. Defensively, they finally invested in the edge rush position in the draft, finally, and they double dipped in it. Don't know how if I love those spots they did. I think they're gonna be fine. There's gonna be some growing pains. I still think Drake London's gonna be awesome. Bijan Robinson's gonna be awesome. Michael Penix is gonna be a little up and down. Defensively, I think this can take a minute to round into form. So I'm gonna give them at 7-10. I think it's not a hard schedule by any means, but I don't think it's gonna be as easy as it was last year, for example. I think there's gonna be a little bit more difficulty here and there. Like last year, they were in division. They were 4-2 in division. I think that I have them going 3-3 in division this year. So just switching one of those wins, which means at the top, I have Tampa Bay taking the division yet again at 11-6. I think they're even a little bit better. Love Emeka Ibuka. If Chris Godwin can't go right away, I think you got someone who fills those shoes perfectly. Jalen McMillan, Mike Evans, when Chris Godwin comes back, receiver rooms top 6 in the league, give or take. Could be top even higher than that. K. Dotton, still K. Dotton, no gloves required. Offensive line, really, really good. Running back room, Bucky Irving, Sean Davis, Rashad White is good. Offensively, they are loaded. Defensively, Yaya Diaby, Vita Vea, Desmond, if he can get his weight down. Good luck pushing on him and Vita Vea in the center. Levante David, the ageless wonder. Benjamin Morrison from Notre Dame, the rookie corner. They got in a second-round steal. I think he's going to take the starting job from either Jamel Dean or McCollum. They just got a really, really good roster if they can stay healthy. I think Todd Bowles is an outstanding coach. And Baker's gone through so many offensive coordinators that him losing Liam Cohen, I think, is just he's going to handle it as well as just about any quarterback in the NFL can handle losing a coordinator that was successful. All the weapons in the world, a relatively easy schedule, easy division. I think Tampa Bay is really, really good and underrated. So I got Tampa Bay going 11-6 to win the division again for a 5th consecutive year. So I'll go in before I let you respond to that. I'll go and just recap it really quick. From the bottom to the top, the Saints at 3-14, the Panthers at 6-11, the Falcons at 7-10, and the Buccaneers capping the division at 11-6.
Yeah, not bad. I like that. I don't hate anything about it. It doesn't surprise me in the least. That's where you went with any of these.
Looks awfully familiar, actually, looking at it. Just switch some numbers around.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna try to respond and give you like a whole like swerve. I'm just gonna peel the Band-Aid off because I have no difference in the standings whatsoever. None at all. It's the same standings, different records. Saints at the bottom, 5-12. I do think they get to the 5-win mark. I think what's interesting for this team is they have a young offense. Their defense has old holes, but they don't really have fill-ins for the old holes. And that's what scares me for the defense. The young offense is kind of exciting if Tyler Shuck can play well. Spencer Rattler can play well. Whichever one plays, if you can play well, there's an opportunity for this team to maybe not get more than 8 wins, but I think you're going to get to 5 wins. And this is why, I talked to 6.5. I didn't hate the 6.5 line for the team for their win odds. Like that doesn't scare me as much. I don't think they're going to get there just given where their record is. I think their record is one that, unfortunately, in your division, you have 3 other teams that are young and hungry and healthier in every position. And I think that's where you lose a lot of this for the Saints. But yeah, I think the Saints 5-12 is where I have them, finishing the same as last year. Panthers, I have next up 7-9 though. I do have a little more faith in the Panthers than you did, and I have a little more faith in 7-10. My bad.
Okay, I was back. Wait a minute. Hold
Yeah,
on.
my
My
bad.
math.
My numbers didn't my brain didn't correlate. Anyways, 7-10 for the Panthers. 3-3 in division. I have them splitting the division, which is something it's an improvement over last year. But I think this is one where you look at this team, this roster. You mentioned Derek Brown. There's a couple other pieces. Obviously, Teteroa McMillan. We know what he can do. I think Hunter Renfrow is a great addition for Bryce Young. I think that's helpful. We always make fun of Thielen's 40, but honestly, at 40 years old, Adam Thielen will still be one of the best weapons for Bryce Young. And I'm not saying he's going to get replaced or nobody's going to replace him, but like he's going to be a third down, first down gainer. That's what he's going to be. That's what he always has done. And you look at the rest of this team, Chu Hubbard, you think I've always liked him. I liked him in college. Rico Dowdle being there. You look at Xavier Legette getting another year. That offensive line is kind of scary if they can stay healthy. And that's an impressive piece as well. They can run block with the best of them. Taylor Moton might be the one weak spot that I look at this team as like, maybe could replace him eventually. But look, for right now, this works. It's a young team, and Taylor Moton's kind of filled this role for other teams, so it's kind of no surprise he's here again. Filling a tackle role for a season until they draft a tackle in next year's draft with a top 10 pick. This is like Taylor Moton's role in the NFL, and honestly, he's made a lot of money doing it, so congratulations to him. A'Shawn Robinson, I think, is going to be huge, having a full season of A'Shawn and Derek Brown in this team. And then on top of that, as you mentioned, J.C. Horn on the back end is a very intriguing piece, and I don't think there's anybody that should overlook him as one of the potentially best corners in the league, because he can be potentially one of the best corners. But yeah, this team is, I don't know. I don't hate them at all. That's why I went 7-10. I just don't think there's enough there to get over the hump. So that's why I have them going there. And then up next is Atlanta at 9-8. So improvement over last year by one game. Surprisingly, I said to everybody gets up one game. Well, guess what? I meant it. However, they do have them going 2-4 in division. I think they match up well with out-of-division opponents. In division scares me a little bit more because that offensive line. But out-of-division, I think their weapons can play well. Bijan, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, everybody you mentioned. On top of that, Ray McLeod is in kind of an unsung third option that realistically he's kind of been a second option in a lot of cases. And then beyond that, you look at the rest of the team, and I think Ruke Aurora, I'm going to mess his name up, Aurora, the defensive tackle, the nose guard, honestly, one of the more underrated defensive linemen in the league who can do the right things at the right times. He's not an excellent pass blocker. He's not an excellent run stopper, but he is at an average to above average at any given time. And honestly, for the Falcons, you can't ask for much more right now. That's what you need. There's been a couple losses in the offseason, but I think overall this team is built to stay somewhere similar. And by the way, they have a Lamar Jackson on the roster. It's just not the Lamar Jackson. I just want to throw that out there as a fun fact.
The Lamar, tomato.
Yeah, big change in the first word there. But yeah, so Falcons for me, 9-8, 2-4 in division, but they're still going to come in second in the division. And then Tampa Bay, Baker, Mike Evans walking 1,000-yard, 10 touchdowns. That's just what Mike Evans does. It's realistically 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns, but I'll take 10 touchdowns if he wants to give me it. Baker's hungry. He continues to show why Cleveland made a mistake. Truthfully, I don't know, and I talked about this with many times. I think we've talked about it on the show before. Baker's probably not Baker without everything he went through. So that's one piece of this. But then the rest of the team, Bucky Irving, you mentioned. And then an unsung hero that I think could make an impact defensively that currently is 4th on the depth chart. And I think everybody's going to laugh when I say his name. But it is a Sanders. And it is Shiloh. I think Shiloh as a free safety, you've seen him in preseason camp. If he can make the team, I think there's going to be a package for Shiloh Sanders somewhere defensively to make an impact. And that's something that I find intriguing, where you look at this team as trying to refill this, what used to be an excellent secondary, not even 4 years ago. And the last 3 years, they've really kind of like, what are we going to do? I think if the young players can step up, I think if you can get a solid season out of Jamel Dean, I think this team has an opportunity there to fill in a lot of holes that they didn't maybe expect. But I think overall, the Bucs are still the most dominant team in the South. Oh, by the way, they added one of the best tackling linebackers in all of the NFL, and Anthony Walker. So that's something to talk about. And I just look at this team as like there's every opportunity. 11-6 doesn't seem crazy, and I wouldn't be surprised. And I'm not trying to spoil my playoff picks, but I wouldn't be surprised here if they could upset a few teams in the playoffs and make a long run. I think this team is a scary contender, and if given the right matchup, as you mentioned, the defensive tackles alone, like any offensive line, you're triple teaming both of those guys, like, or at least one of those guys. Like you have to, or bare minimum double team one and chip the other. Like and you add in the potential weapons on the outside. I think this team has a lot of positives if they can just stay healthy. Has been kind of the tenure for the Bucs. Staying healthy is the problem. But I think overall this team has got a lot going for them. By the way, 5-1 in the division is what I have them as.
Same record, but in the division, 5-1. That's a very unique team because it went through Tom Brady saved Tampa Bay to even in the 2 years since he's been gone, they've won the division in 2 years since he's been gone too. They're outstanding. They're just very well run. Surprisingly, from top to bottom, they feel like they won 7 games with a quarterback that couldn't see and threw 30 interceptions. Like I think they've been well run for a while. They just needed to get Jameis Winston out, LASIK eye surgery, and they've been good ever since then. I feel like they're the team that matches up so well with all the good teams. Like last year, they were one of 2 teams to beat the Lions. They beat the Eagles in the playoffs a couple of years ago. They nearly beat the Commanders in the playoffs as well. They match up well with good teams, but then they randomly almost lose to Carolina and stuff like that. Like they find themselves they punch up very well. They punch up in the higher weight class as well, but then they get caught by the little ankle biters that just tend to slip them up a little bit, especially when you didn't have Godwin and Evans for weeks at a time. Rookie Jalen McMillan, they relied on the screen game. They're a very interesting team if everything clicks. And I wanted to circle with Atlanta. Atlanta's almost the exact same thing, just like a year away. I feel like this time next year, if everything builds, that offense is going to be scary going into next year. Assuming Penix ascends like we both think he's capable of, we both think he's awesome, and I think he's going to have a rough, quote unquote, rookie season. Just the timing, getting used to the NFL speed, just getting used to the different offenses, get running out of center, the pistol, considering he threw 13 college passes from under center in his entire career, and that was a long career. So I think getting used to some of that so they don't run the pistol since their offense runs off of Bijan and running the outside zone, the inside zone, which is harder to do out of shotgun, and the bootlegs. I think it'll take a little bit of time. So I think a little bit of a rocky year for them, but I still think they're going to be awesome. It's going to be very fun with these two, especially next year. We might have a different conversation. That's for sure.
Yeah, I definitely think that's true. And I want to go back to the Bucs for a second because there is just something intriguing at this wide receiver room. They have Tez Johnson that just happens to be on this roster. To go with Emeka Ibuka, to go with Jalen McMillan, to go with when he comes back, Chris Godwin, to go with Mike Evans. Oh, by the way, there's still a Sterling Shepard on the roster. I look at the weapons just at the receiving core. You mentioned Cade Otton alone. I mean, you add in Bucky Irving as a pass catching option. Baker is spoiled for choices for once. This might be the first year in his career that he's had more than 4 options that could play week in and week out that will be successful. I mean, I don't know if anybody else picked up the Bucs receivers the last couple of years, but you're usually shuffling between them because they continue to get hurt. Yeah, I was like, you did, I did it in one league. Like, you kind of just have to figure it out. This year feels like if that has to happen, you won't feel very scared going with the next man up because we've seen what Emeka Ibuka could do in college. I mean, he has the body for an NFL receiver. You know what Tez Johnson can do in college. You know he can make that next step into the NFL if he's able to get open. We've seen Devontae, who has a very similar body style, succeed as well. So there's a lot of opportunity for this receiving core to make an impact for Baker as well. So, I mean, I look at Baker, who last year had one of the best passing years of anybody, period. I wouldn't be surprised to see a repeat from him either.
4,500 yards, 41 touchdowns. I think he's going to – I don't know if he'll quite match those, but I agree that I think he could very easily be like 4,035. Maybe instead of 16 picks, you drop that down to 11. I think just because Bucky's going to have that running game going earlier too. So I think that's going to help for sure since he'll be the starting running back out of the gate, at least as far as we know, unless some tomfoolery is about to take place down there. But I think the run game's going to be a little bit stronger earlier. And I think he won't be winging it quite as much because I think defensively they're going to be a little bit stouter too. There were some games where they were forced into shootouts, like that Ravens game, that Atlanta game. They've had a few shootouts where I think they'll be able to avoid with that defense. But before we move on to the other South division. Go and give us a quick recap of how you think the NFC South shakes down.
Yeah, I see it as the Saints coming in last 5-12, Panthers at 7-10, Falcons at 9-8, and Buccaneers at 11-6.
Absolutely. A very, very chalk NFC South for the both
Yeah,
of us. But now
no shock.
That's going to take us to the other questionable division, which has had the same division winner the last couple years. We're going to go to the AFC South now as we take a look at some of the numbers. Houston sitting at 9.5 for over/under wins. The Colts at 7.5, the Jaguars at 7.5, and the Titans at 5.5. We can see the division odds as well. Texans are still favored, but surprisingly not too far behind are the Jaguars and the Colts. And we see their records from last year. The Texans with I don't know if we call this an incredible feat or a completely uncomfortable feat. It is exact net 0 on points. Exactly 372 scored, exactly 372 given up, with a
Injuries.
5-1 division record to go with it. So literally the epitome of, well, we got in because of where we play. Colts at second at 8-9, Jaguars at 4-13, and the Titans at 3-14. So the first and second picks in the draft after a trade for Jacksonville as well. So, Kelcey, I went first on the last one. I'm gonna let you go ahead and rip off the Band-Aid with the AFC South. How do we want to go about this tomfoolery?
Yeah, I have 3/4 of this is completely different. So
Same.
this is gonna might be surprising to some folks, I imagine. But we'll start at the bottom, right? The Indianapolis Colts at 4-13. I have them as the worst team in the AFC and the second overall.
Let me ask you real quickly, who's playing quarterback?
Yes, that's the
All three.
answer. Is yes. I honestly don't know if it's Daniel Jones all season. I wouldn't be surprised for them to sneak 7 wins. Just to irritate every Colts fan out there, just to make sure they're not like, oh yeah, I can go get a new draft pick in the top three. No. Daniel Jones is going to cause he'll prove himself to be a good quarterback anywhere else but New York. The problem is the Colts don't need that this season if they want to get better next year.
He'll do just enough to get carried, not to be an anchor.
Yeah, no, but I do like the Colts run game. I still love that. I do like pieces of this team. If AR can stay healthy, I know 3 or 4 wins is where I have them. I could see this climbing too close to the 7.5 games. I don't think it's going to get over the 7.5. But I see this as like a situation where the Colts have every opportunity, but their health has been so questionable, and AR not being there is one of those things that scares me the most because I don't trust Riley Leonard. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. And
No one with eyes doesn't.
I don't love Daniel Jones. I think he's one of those guys that he got thrust into the situation way too early anyways in New York. He needed time. He needed more time. He needed more development. And you never gave him that. And then you threw him under the microscope and then you bashed him. And he lost all confidence. Like now it's a recovery project for whoever gets him to work again. That sounds bad. I'm not saying he's a broken man, but like as a quarterback, it shook his confidence for sure.
And he got $40 million a year. He's good now.
Yeah, exactly. But it's still one of those things like I don't trust him if he's the guy filling in, but I also think he's not bad enough to get 3-4 wins. So he would probably get up to 7. But with AR, he needs to figure out the accuracy issues. And until I see otherwise, the Colts are going to be at the bottom of the division. And they have a tougher schedule too. Like that's just part of this with the Colts. Their schedule kind of rough compared to the rest of the division. So yeah, they're at the bottom, 4-13. Next up, the Jacksonville Jaguars at 5-12. If this was Mac Jones, 7.5 is absolutely reachable. If this is Mac Jones, I'm taking Brian Thomas Jr. in the top 7 picks.
You're taking my stats, guy. You literally read my notes.
I did. But this fact is, it's Trevor Lawrence, and I don't know what's about to happen. And then the other fact is, they don't even know what they want to do at running back. Is it Tank? Is it going to be anybody else? At ETN, I don't know who's starting running back there anymore because it's 50-50 breakdown between ETN and Tank Bigsby in a lot of cases, and that's not great when you talk about how they both play. I honestly think Tank needs to be the number one, and then use ETN and use Travis Hunter in a slot, and then let the outside guys go wild. That needs to be what has to happen, but that's not going to be what has to happen or what will happen because that's just not the nature. I do love what Travis Hunter has the opportunity to do, and as we've talked about before, I love Josh Hines-Allen, the other Josh Allen, and honestly, maybe one of my favorite Josh Allens. I'm not going to say which one is actually my favorite, but no, he is He's an underrated. I still think he's an underrated defensive lineman. He's finally gotten some of the credentials the last 2 years, but he deserves more. And I think overall, this Jaguars team though just scares me for long-term wins. It's an improvement for last year, 5 wins, but Trevor, his health, his progression as a quarterback has been hampered many, many times now. Can he survive another delay in the progression from last year to this year? I don't know. So that's why I have him at 5-12. I do have him 1-5 in division, by the way. So not great, not great at all. Number 2 in the division, finishing above them, is the Tennessee Titans at 7-10. Cameron Ward, the man that started at Incarnate Word, went to Wazoo, had a great season at Wazoo, somehow ended up at Miami, where he's a Heisman Trophy candidate. Could have won a Heisman Trophy. Don't ask Jared if he should have won or not, but we'll leave that alone.
Well, he'd be wrong. But.
Yeah. But overall, in his career, he has shown one thing over and over again, and that's he has the ability to sling the rock and not have a conscience. So whether or not he throws a pick or whether or not he throws a touchdown, he doesn't care. He's going to go back out the next drive and he's going to try to throw another touchdown, or he's going to throw a pick. This is kind of Brett Favre era quarterbacking that we haven't seen in many, many years, it feels like, where there's no real gunslingers anymore. And Cam Ward has the opportunity to be that gunslinger. And now they have weapons. And now they have a line that's being built. Now they have defense that's getting healthy. It's not a total win for the Titans, but it's gonna be better than 5-5 or 5.5 wins. It's gonna be better than last year's 3-14. I don't know if it's gonna be amazingly better, but for me, I have hope that it's gonna be 7-10. So I have them going 3-3 in division, finishing second in division, 7-10 overall. And then, no surprise, number 1, actually regressing with a win, but still number 1, 9-8, going 5-1 in the division, is the Houston Texans. I think the Joe Mixon injury does hamper them, whether or not people want to admit it. Joe Mixon is a top 10 running back. Yes, Nick Chubb is a fantastic running back when healthy, but he's not healthy. You can't have your 3rd knee surgery on another knee. Like, it just doesn't work that way, and you still be as good as you once were. I hope him the best, and I hope he can be an average to slightly above average NFL running back at minimum. I would love to see the old Nick Chubb. I don't think that's going to happen for the Texans. I don't know if Joe Mixon can stay healthy all season, given he's coming into the season injured. CJ didn't regress last year, and I talked about this before the season as well. I didn't think he was going to have a major regression. I thought it was going to be a stagnation. That's exactly what happened, but it's not all his fault. Some of it's his fault. Some of it's the offensive line got worse, and some of it is his receivers got hurt. Those all played a part in it, and he had the Stephon Diggs factor last year that, well, yeah, that does hamper you. 9.5 wins, though. I have them 9, so I don't have them going over, and that's what the odds say is it's going to be an under 9.5 win season. So, yeah, it is tough for me to pick the Texans to not get 10 wins, but I think there's nothing that sells me on this team being exponentially better than they were before, considering the injuries they already have going into the season. It scares me. So, yeah, I have 9-8, 5-1 in the division.
One thing that's very interesting, too, is we kind of already joked about the Colts quarterback, Tom Foolery. Cam Ward is going to be like the 2nd youngest quarterback in the league. Anthony's going to be like the 3rd. It is kind of very interesting how there could be 2 polar opposite ends of career trajectory at this point, where everyone loves Cameron Ward, rightfully so. I think he's going to be awesome. Jacksonville's kind of the weird almost antithesis, as Trevor Lawrence has been there for 4 years, going on year number 5, and we still have no idea what to expect on not just a year-to-year basis, but a down-to-down basis. Yeah. Some of that's his fault. Some of it is ridiculous situations. I'm going to talk more about the Texans when I talk about it as well, but on paper, that roster looks like they should be a top 3 team in the AFC. Like when you compare just what they have off the edges, their secondary, CJ Stroud, the receiving core, it feels like they should be competing with like the Bills, the Ravens, the Chiefs. They should be more in depth in that conversation. But really, when we look at the AFC picture, there's those 3. Then there's there's the designated AFC South winner, basically, just in its own little tier, which is the Texans. Then there's the other playoff teams that like
North and West have a conversation right there.
Exactly. It just feels they feel there's just something missing with them too, where we can't quite put them in there. We saw that a lot last year up until that playoff game where they ran roughshod through the Chargers. But then The next round against the Chiefs, it was gone. Or when they played the Ravens, 30-2. Like that's not the score you want on a Christmas Day game against the Ravens. So they did, however, beat the Bills earlier in the year. They're very Jekyll and Hyde. They're very confusing and they're very exhausting when it comes to making these picks. That 372 and 372 for its 0 net points could not describe them any more perfectly. Like that is someone asked me to describe last year's Texans. That's all I could really show at this point.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But just to recap it is starting at the bottom, working my way up. Colts 4-13, Jaguars 5-12, the Titans at 7-10. Congratulations, Titan fans. And the Texans at 9-8. Obviously, I'm saying congratulations. It's a prediction. We'll see if it works. But you better believe if this worked out, I will 100% clip this and play it on replay for the entire year.
Hold that thought.
Okay.
I'm going to start from the bottom to the top. I'm going to run through them quickly, and then I'm going to go back and circle kind of why. At the bottom, I have the Colts as well. I have them going 6-11 because I think we're going to see all three of those quarterbacks play, and it's going to be chaos. I lied. I'm going to go through each one individually again because I have a lot to say about each one. I feel like we're going to see all three of them. That team, when you look at it, is so darn good everywhere except for quarterback. That offensive line is still really solid despite a lot of the change. That receiving core is young and very. Alec Pierce had 800 yards on 30 catches or something ridiculous like that. Like Michael Pittman's been a Pro Bowler, Josh Downs, A.D. Mitchell, Tyler Warren. I think we all can agree at 99% sure he's going to be awesome based off one preseason game and 1 year and basically the 4 years we saw at Penn State, really 2 years, but still you get the point. Defensively, Cam Bynum at safety, Trevarius Ward added to DeForest Buckner and crew. It feels like they should be awesome, but I feel like that quarterback, you have a very creative offensive minded head coach, Lou Amarillo, a defensive coordinator. They should be good, but I really don't trust the GM's draft team building process over the last decade that has yielded 0 division titles and 1 playoff win and 2 playoff appearances. The quarterback situations we mentioned, my goodness. Like my best case scenario is either Anthony Richardson, it turns into 2015, Cam Newton in the next 15 days, give or take, or they go 3-4. They go like 3-14 and they just retool everything. However, that's never how it works. I think they go somewhere in the middle at 6-11. Granted, I was very generous with a lot of my picks this year. So 6-11 will actually get you pick number 6 in the draft. So just saying, though, I've been very generous with a lot of the wins of when I did the predictions, as we'll get to later on. But next up, I have the Jaguars at 8-9. Pretty much everything you said. I like the idea. I still like Brian Thomas. I just, like, if I'm taking fantasy, I'm not taking him top 8. But I still like him. He's still going to be good. I just don't think he's going to be a fantasy league winning receiver 1. A la Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb 2 years ago, etc. I think Travis Hunter is going to be a really good complementary receiver, depending on how they break up those snaps and how you distribute playing time, because I don't want him playing full-time both ways. I get it just because he can. If you play Baltimore, I don't want you having to tackle Derrick Henry on one side, then go to the other side a few plays later and run a slant against Kyle Hamilton and get crushed because Trevor Lawrence throws it late. No. So however they distribute that, I want to see how that works out. De'Ami Brown. I love the running back room. I don't love it. That's too strong. I like the running back room. Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby, Bajal Tootin. I think they're all going to be on the field. They're all going to get burned. If someone offered, I could see Travis Etienne even possibly getting traded if someone offered, just because all of them are. If someone loses a running back, maybe all of those guys are productive. They like Tank Bigsby as the guy. Bajal Tootin offers a lot of the same things, but 4.32 speed. I can see a little bit of movement there. Defensively, we all love Devin Lloyd. This is a Devin Lloyd podcast going back from 3 years ago. We love Foye Oluokun thanks to Madden 20 and 21. Mm-hmm. Campbell at corner is really good. We just mentioned the Hines Allen, excuse me. Trayvon Walker, solid. I think they have some good pieces. I'm giving them 8 and 9. I think it's going to be a competitively mid division. I think they're going to kind of beat up on each other. Antithesis to you, though, I actually have them going 4-2 in division. I think they're going to be AFC South bullies, but kind of get whacked around by other teams. Next up at 8 and 9, I also have the Houston Texans, also going 4-2 in the division. Everything I said about them a minute ago, they should be a top 3-ish team in the AFC, but there's just something missing about them. And firing Bobby Slowick with like a month left to go in the season because of schematic issues, I'm really curious to see how this plays out because they're flipping a lot on its head going to next year. Still a really good team. I'm just curious to see if it all connects, and the offensive line still worries me, which means at the top of the division from worst to first, Cameron Ward's going to take the Tennessee Titans to an astounding 9-8. So it's not like not like anyone's running away with the division. However, they will secure it in week 18, a 2-4 record in division. Somehow they're going to struggle in division, but they're going to be the antithesis of the Jaguars. Big Cameron Ward fans here. Everything you said times 2. Just taking Will Levis off of not just off of the starting role, but he is out for this season, so he's not even on the roster. That is an automatic 2 to 3 wins in itself. Just getting that out of the way and his selfie video taking, mayonnaise loving self and everything else that comes with it. I like Tony Pollard. I like Tajay Spears when he gets healthy. We're going to see a revitalization of Calvin Ridley. Tyler Lockett's still effective. Van Jefferson. Eric Amenor. He gets Travis Hunter twice a year now. We'll see how that plays out, if that rivalry is something that I just made up or not. The offensive line with Peter Skoronski, J.C. Latham, I think will be solid. Defensively, they still have some players. Roger McCreary, Jeffrey Simmons, Tavondre Sweat, L'Jarius Sneed. They're not going to be great, but I think they're going to find ways to just win games. And there's going to be a lot of addition by subtraction. And I think Cameron Ward's going to do a lot of really good things, even if the numbers don't show it. Like, you'll have games where it's maybe like 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, but he leads a game-winning drive. I'm going to say rookie year Andrew Luck, because that was kind of ridiculous, and he set the rookie passing yards record at the time. But I think a similar vibe where the final numbers may not look great, but he finds ways to help them win. So I have Tennessee Titans going from worst to first, and the Colts, with the by far worst quarterback situation in the AFC, and especially the AFC South, will find themselves at the bottom.
I don't hate it.
So once again, if this happens, Titans fans, we're clipping my section of the AFC South.
We're going to clip both of them. We're clipping both of them because we both gave them.
This kills me.
Yeah, we both gave them greater than. But yeah, you'll get full credit for giving them the win in the division if that happens. Little surprised by the Texans, 8-9. Hector, if you're listening, I hope you closed your ears during that. You could open them now.
I hope I'm wrong, but there's something weird about that team that I just can't put my finger on. And I think with the Titans and Jaguars not being 2 of the 3 worst teams in the league, it's going to be harder to go 5-1 in the division again. Yeah. I feel like they just beat the brakes off of the South, and that kind of propelled them to 10. So I think it's a little step back. Something's missing, and I kind of hope I'm wrong, because I do like a lot of the players in D'Amico Ryans, but something just feels off. Like, especially after that first-year campaign in 2022, rookie C.J. Stroud, rookie coach D'Amico Ryans, playoff win at riding high, all that money spent, getting Danielle Hunter, the best edge duo in the league, arguably. Just didn't make as big of a difference last year, though. It just felt like too many games. Like the Jets game, it was like, what's going on here between the offensive line? The play calling was out of whack. Something's just off. It's unquantifiable. I can't quantify it in any way besides eye test. Because that roster, as I mentioned, is so damn good. They are so darn good on paper, but it just doesn't always show up when you watch it. So maybe I'm wrong. No. Maybe I'm wrong.
That's fair. I get that. I don't know. I feel like a lot of it, and I don't want to put a lot on one player, but man, there was so much Stephon Diggs hype in that team last year that it felt like he was just a giant letdown.
Especially for that team. Hurt. I think losing him and Tank Dell,
it was miserable. Like and that's never going to help a young quarterback, anyways. When you see your number 1 and number 2 go down, and then you're left with, which, to be fair, Nico's not a number 3, but he's a 2B. In that time, he was a 2B because it was Stephon, and then it was Tank and Nico at the same time. But yeah, I think Nico obviously carries the torch for number 1 right now, and then it's a bunch of guys, and you just hope you get the best of them for right now until everybody's fully healthy. I don't think Tank's fully healthy right now.
He's out for the year. He's done for the year. That's
it's like, you look at that as like, all right, well, now you just have to figure out how it's going to work for that offense. And if Nick Chubb comes back and he's Nick Chubb again, then it's a different conversation. But I could see your 8-9 for sure happening. It just feels like it does still feel weird to say the Texans go 8-9.
I don't like it. It's because I like the 2 Iowa State receivers. I think Christian Kirk's going to be really good with them. I can't put my finger on it. And I'm probably going to be wrong. This will probably be clipped by Houston. I fully understand, but I'm going to go ahead and recap mine as well. From the bottom to the top, we have the Colts at finishing 6-11, the Jaguars at 8-9, the Texans also at 8-9, and the Titans from worst to first going 9-8 to take the AFC South. I'm sorry, other fans of the AFC South. It only gets worse. And for the Colts fans, I'm sorry in advance. You have the worst quarterback situation by far, and it's not even close. It doesn't get any better either. Like, it just keeps getting worse. But we've done the predictions part. Now it comes to the fun part. We're going to be talking a little bit of gambling now. We're gonna talk about our futures bets, the segments we've done before. This time we're gonna put our money where our mouth is, if you will. Sticking with the AFC, let's go and talk best bet futures bets in the AFC South. I'll go and lead the way on this one. Starting with those aforementioned Texans. Yeah, I still like Nico Collins a lot. We're gonna take the over on 1,150 receiving yards at -114. He's still gonna get the ball, and he is a deep threat amongst deep threats. One of the best in the game when his hamstring's not popping on a 70-yard touchdown against the Bills. So as long as he doesn't miss a month and some change in the middle of the season again, he's gonna be awesome. Titans, this one's easy for me. Over 6.5 wins at +125. Even if they don't meet my expectations, they meet your expectations. That's a hit with plus money regardless. Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence, I'm still going to give him over 3,750 yards because I feel like that they're going to be throwing the ball a lot. I think Brian Thomas, Travis Hunter, I think there's going to be a lot of screen game. All three of those running backs are going to get a lot of catches. He's going to find a way to, he's had over 4,000 yards in back-to-back years before last year. So I think he'll still find a way to get to like 39, even if they stink or they're just okay. And then the last one, we're going to take a page out of Kelcey's playbook from last week. The Colts will get one rushing touchdown in every single game this year at plus 4,100 odds. So we're going to steal Kelcey's bet for the Seahawks last week. We're going to apply it to the Colts between Jonathan Taylor, Anthony Richardson, and when Daniel Jones ruins this in week 18 by tripping on the 5-yard line, or Riley Leonard or DJ Giddens or even Tyler Ward. So that's what we're going to do for AFC South futures bets. Taking a wild shot on the Colts because I don't trust anything about that team otherwise.
Yeah, I don't hate any of them, honestly. I do have probably some more wild ones, so I guess no surprise. So yeah, get your bucket caps on, and remember, bet smarter, not harder. If you do have a problem, be sure to call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-GAMBLE and get assistance. And also bet no more than you can afford. That's the most important thing. All right, so starting at the bottom, working my way up. The Colts, Jonathan Taylor, 1,000 rushing yards, probably my safest bet of all of these. -300 odds. So death taxes, JT healthy gets 1,000 yards. There you go. So that's number one on there. Number two, the Jags. Now this one was a little fun because they had a whole Travis Hunter futures section. Travis Hunter, 5+ regular season offensive touchdowns and 1 or more regular season defensive touchdowns.
Ooh.
Plus 1,200 odds.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I like the odds of it, and it feels like somebody's going to test him early in the season, and he's going to steal a defensive touchdown that way. It wouldn't surprise me if it was in division. Like I can see it happening.
Throw right at him.
Yeah, just see what happens. And look, I think he has the ability. Once the ball is thrown at him, I have no problem with him at all as a corner. I think he will and continues to have the best ball skills of any corner the moment he walks on that field, because he is a receiver. Like he is a true receiver who plays corner in my eyes, not just a corner who plays receiver. Like, some of the older guys that have played both ways. So yeah, that's where I see that. The Titans, Cameron Ward, the rookie of the year, plus 300. Yeah, feels pretty safe, right? Yeah. I do think that the rookie of the year will come out of this division, and it's going to be Travis or it's going to be Cameron Ward.
Also seems pretty safe.
Yeah. By the way, do you have any guess where Incarnate Word is?
Off the top of my head, it's not clicking.
No, it's San Antonio, Texas. Just random thought that popped in my head because this man has been from San Antonio, Texas to Washington to Miami, Florida to now Tennessee, where he's going to lead them to at least a second place victory season finish. So we'll see. The Houston Texans, their bet for me for this season, CJ with plus 130 odds to get 4,000 or more passing yards. And we just talked about the receiving core. I think Nico there, and then the guys will help him get to 4,000 passing yards. I think CJ, well, like I said, he had a regression, not a regression last year. He had a stagnation last year. Well, what happens after stagnation? 9 times out of 10 an explosion. So this is what happens. And CJ, I look at as an opportunity guy. His tight ends are good too. Let's not forget them. They're still there. I do see a chance for Cade Stover to have more performance on this offense, considering the receiving injuries. So yeah, this is one for the Texans. I think CJ Stroud, 4,000 passing yards is not a stretch by any means.
Not at all. He did it as a rookie in spades too, and he probably could have done it last year if things would have clicked a little bit better. So it's very much in the possibility, especially if they're in any way competitive in a lot of these division games too. If it's even we both have the division being a touch close at certain points. So I think it's very, very doable. So we're going to go from the AFC South now to the NFC South. And Kelcey, we'll circle back to you. How do we have the what money are we winning in the NFC South?
Yeah, so obviously you mentioned the Saints potentially trading Alvin Kamara, which makes this bet even better if that happens. So Alvin Kamara, his over-under on touchdowns this season is 4.5 for rushing touchdowns. For the over, it's -114. For the under, it is plus or -130, I think, or 140. Yeah, it depends on your sports book. I'm taking the over. 4.5 rushing yards, or 4.5 rushing touchdowns for the season. This feels like 4.5 rushing touchdowns for him is something he almost got in a game.
He did actually get over that in a game on Christmas Day against the Vikings when he had 6. So that's very doable.
I'm just saying, like, it's like the dude has done it. So let's not forget ourselves. I know he's not going to wear 2-color cleats for every game, but you know what? If when there's a game that he does, be prepared for him to hit that in just that game. And look, if you're looking at the Saints, and this one is not a bet yet, but just throwing it out there, I couldn't find this bet anywhere, and this is the one I wanted to find, so I'm gonna throw it out there as a bonus bet. Devin Neal, anytime touchdown at any point in this season, if there's a bet out there somewhere for this, put it on the books, because this man was the best running back in the Big 12 last year, and he was the best running back in the Big 12 the year before. I will not have slander on Devin Neal's name. Give that man the rock. Sorry, we got a little expanded
fantasy after that soliloquy.
Yeah, no, honestly, I forgot he went to the Saints until I was looking at the roster, and I was like, oh yeah, there we go. I couldn't find the bet though, so obviously I had to settle for Alvin Kamara. Yeah, so look, I'm settling for Alvin Kamara, and I'm giving you great odds to get a bet. So, all right, number 3 in the division, the Panthers. I have Tetairoa McMillan over 825.5 yards receiving this year. That's its over-under for the year. -114 odds. So they do have him potentially getting over that, and I agree with that. I think when you look at the weapons there, he's going to be the number 1 target. Oh no, somebody's in my face, let me just throw it down the field somewhere. It's going to McMillan. That's just how it's going to go. So I think he's going to have a good season as well. Despite my misgivings for him, I think he's shown so far in one preseason game that he is an obvious target for Bryce Young. So yeah, that's where I got that. The Falcons. All right, this one's kind of a crazy one. People are going to laugh at me. But you know what? I don't care. This man's going to be there. He's going to be in the end zone finally. Again, he's not going to be blocking on a pass play in the red zone. Mr. Kyle Pitts, come on down for your 6+ regular season touchdowns at +250 odds.
New career high for Kyle Pitts incoming.
Look, it's not hard to get a new career high when you've been blocking in the red zone for the last 2 years. So, yeah, give me Kyle Pitts on that one. I have a hard time thinking he's not going to get into the end zone, especially with Penix throwing in the ball. Penix will throw anybody the ball if they're open.
Maybe he'll get treated too, and then he'll go to someone that will throw in the ball.
Yeah, that's fine too. And then number 1, I maybe spoiled this one with my prediction for the Buccaneers, but I don't care. Mr. Mike Evans, 10 regular season touchdowns +170 odds. Sorry, 10 regular season receiving touchdowns +170 odds.
Good clarification, because you're lucky you'll get 9 receiving and 1 rushing, and someone will get mad at you for not hitting.
Yep. So, but no, I think Mike Evans obviously is still the number 1 target, and nobody can really guard the guy in the red zone. I've yet to see somebody really stop Mike Evans in the red zone, whether it be in college at Texas A&M, when he got Johnny Manziel drafted, or it's been in the pros where he got everybody a contract. So,
realistically, yeah. At this point, the only one that's stopping Mike Evans in the red zone is his own hamstring at this point. Yeah, that's the only thing that's stopping him. But
or Chris Godwin when he's healthy.
Yeah, or Kate Otten, just because you guys see the man without a glove sometimes catch. But I'll start with my bets from the bottom to the top as well. Saints, we're going to go under 4.5 wins for +110. So I think as long as they don't win as many games as they did last year, that one's a hit. Bryce Young for the Panthers, the over-under set at 3,200.5 yard. We're going to take the over. I think he gets 3,201 yards at least, with many of those going to, because I think he's going to play the whole season and they're going to find a way to make it count. And 3,200 that's 200 yards a game. That's not even 200 yards a game. I think he could very much do that if he plays. Falcons, Drake London, 8+ touchdowns at +105. I think he's just going to get the ball in the red zone a lot. When Michael Penix was a quarterback, it was the Drake London show for those 3 weeks. It wasn't Kirk Cousins just panicking and throwing Cole's cash in the backfield. Drake London's going to feast this year, especially in the red zone. And then for the Bucks, death, taxes, and Mike Evans at 1,000 yards at -125. Even if it's 1,003 yards in Week 18, he's going to find a way to do it. Even if they're up in a game when they should be kneeling it out, they'll throw him a little flare and let him gain 7 yards to get it. Like, one way or another, that's going to happen.
Stat padding. I love it. I'm here for all the stat padding for Mike Evans.
Look, he's considering what he's gone through, he deserves to get that 1,000 yards. And I think if he does it again next year, that will break Jerry Rice's record for consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. I think he's tied with Jerry at 11 now. Next year, we'll make it 12. And you know what? He deserves it. He's been the ultimate consistency. Had to play through. He got Johnny Manziel drafted, as we always joke about it. He deserves to have a record all in his own name.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, at this point in time, give him a trophy for got this quarterback drafted when he probably should never have been drafted.
Drafted in the first round.
Yeah, I was like, drafted in the first round as a cornerstone for a franchise.
Like, yeah, his accomplishments are completely remarkable. We saw put Jameis Winston in the 30 touchdowns, 5,000-yard club. Got Tom Brady basically locked in for GOAT status. We've seen got Baker Mayfield looking absolutely incredible. Matt, our good friend Matt, summarized it. Bet all the Uncrustables on Mike Evans for 1,000 receiving yards, and you'll be getting a whole lot of Uncrustables back. That is for sure. But that's going to do it for this week's episode on the Counting Down to Kickoff show, where we did the AFC and the NFC South. Next week, we got maybe the least, or maybe there'll be a beast, is we'll be talking with the East. Going with AFC and NFC East, will be some prizes. We got some defending Super Bowl champions, and we got some heartbreak and a little bit of everything in between. But while you are waiting for that, and if anyone who's jumping in from the New Heights show, with that, I don't blame you whatsoever, but we appreciate you popping in now. You'll be able to catch this full show on all of our social medias, podcasts, etc. And also go in and check out the Belly Up YouTube page, where I had the fortunate pleasure to sit down with NFL Media's Marcus Grant at the Fantasy Football Expo last week. He talked to us a little bit about draft strategies, some players he's avoiding, some sleepers, who he'd be taking early on. And he even gave me some permission to draft Alvin Kamara just for team name purposes, even though he would avoid him himself. So definitely go check out that video as well. We appreciate y'all so much for joining us, and we'll see you all again next time.